In this video, we're going to show you how to replace your front strut cap. Now to get started on this job, let's make our way under the hood. We're going to have to remove each of our wiper arms. To remove each of the arms, you're going to find that you should have a plastic cover covering the nut. We'll carefully pry this off of here, give it a quick inspection, set that aside. Use a 12mm to remove each of the mounting nuts. Before you continue removing the wiper arm from the area, take note of exactly where the wiper blade sits on your windshield, so when you go to reinstall it, you know exactly the angle that it needs to be at. To remove the arm, we're going to carefully grab on this area. Start wiggling it and pull it away from the windshield. Keep in mind, this area here is considered a hinge area, and it's under spring tension, so don't put your fingers in this area and potentially get hurt. Now let's do the same to the other wiper arm. Now we can start removing our top trim up here. This is considered your wiper cowl. Now for this, you're going to want to use a trim tool. There's going to be several push clips that we'll have to remove going all the way across the vehicle. If you have this type of clip, you'd want to pull out the center first. Once it's unlocked, you can fully remove the outer aspect as well. Once you have all the push clips out of there, grab onto the center of this area. We're going to gently lift this up and pull it towards the front of the vehicle so it can detach from the front of the windshield. Now we can separate these two and remove them. With the plastic out of the way, we have a clear view of our windshield wiper motor. Let's move along to the wiring. Underneath this area, where my index finger is, there's a tab that you can squeeze. That releases the lock, and then you can pull the wiring harness off of the motor. Give it a quick inspection for corrosion. Assuming it looks good, go ahead and pull it up towards the passenger side. Now we're going to continue on with our trim tool. You'll notice that the wiring's attached to this area. Gently pry it up. We'll continue on down along here. Now for this, there's a rubber boot. Generally, you can just reach in here, give it a little squeeze, and start separating it. We'll pull it towards the engine compartment, being extremely careful not to damage the wiring. Now let's continue to removing our wiper mechanism. You're going to find 3 10mm headed mounting bolts that hold it in place. There we are. We'll move to the center. Remove the assembly. Let's move under this area. We're going to deattach this hose from its mounting bracket. Just go ahead and slide that aside. Now we can move along to the metallic aspect of the wiper cowl. For this, you're going to find several 10mm headed bolts. We'll make our way all the way across. There should be one in this area here. Ours is broken. There should be another one in this corner, once again, broken. Once you have that out of there, it exposes the top area of your strut mount. But we're not going to touch either of these 3 nuts. Let's continue on by safely raising and supporting the vehicle with the suspension hanging. Now that we have the front end up in the air, go ahead and remove your hubcap. After you remove the hubcap, continue on to your 4 21mm lug nuts and then remove the wheel. Now that we have the wheel off, we have a nice clear view of our front strut assembly. Let's continue on along this area. You can see your ABS wire. It's attached to the strut. We'll use our metal trim tool here and carefully remove the bracket. Now follow that ABS wire along the front of the strut. You're going to find a 14mm headed bolt. Remove the bolt. Grab that ABS wire, break it free, and also remove your brake flex hose from the area as well. After that, what you want to do is take a bungee cord. You'll notice that I have it through this area here on the body. I bring it around the rotor, around one of the studs, and then all the way up to this area on the body. Once you've done that, we're going to continue on by removing our two 19mm headed bolts. Holding each of those bolts in place is a 19mm nut. Once you remove both of those, we can carefully pull this down, but be extremely careful not to pull it away from the vehicle. If you do that, you could potentially damage your axle. All right, at this point, let's pause down here and make our way back into the engine compartment. In the engine compartment, we'll continue on to our three 13mm mounting nuts. Keep in mind, these are the last things holding this strut in the vehicle. So as you're removing the last one, make sure you're also holding the strut from in the wheel well. Put this one on here a few good threads. Once you have the strut assembly out of the vehicle, you're going to have to continue by condensing the coil spring. There's several different tools that you can use to do this. We have this particular machine. When you do it, be as safe as possible. It's only important to make sure that you compress the spring enough that you can move the strut around. Now let's make our way up to the strut cap. We'll use a small screwdriver, remove our protective cover. After that, down inside there, you're going to find an 18mm nut. We'll remove that nut, making sure we're holding onto the strut so it does not fall down. Let's get our mount installed on the strut. Once you have the nut started, go ahead and bottom it out. After that, we're going to torque it to 25 foot-pounds. Double check to make sure your strut is still lined up along the bottom of the coil spring and start releasing pressure. Now, while this is still held in place with our tool, we should have spring pressure up against the bottom of this base here. At that point, we should be able to torque this nut to 25 foot-pounds. Put on your protective cover. Now we can get this out of the tool and back over to the vehicle. Now we can get our strut back inside the wheel well. We'll look up inside the engine compartment and line up our 3 mounting studs. There we are. Start on all 3 of your mounting nuts. Now that I have all 3 of my mounting nuts started, let's make our way back into the wheel well. Now we can start realigning the knuckle with the strut assembly. Once you have it in there, continue on with both of your mounting bolts. It's a good idea to clean the threads and apply some red thread locker. Start on both of those mounting nuts, hold the bolts in place, and then snug and torque the nuts to 97 foot-pounds. Secure that ABS wire along the back side of the strut, and now we can resecure the wire and the flex hose on the front. We'll get the ABS bracket in place first. Once you feel as though you have that lined up, continue on to the brake flex hose. After that, put in your mounting bolt. Snug it up. Remove your bungee cord. Now we can get the wheel back on here. We'll start on all 4 of our lug nuts, bottom them out, get the wheel safely on the ground, and then torque each of these to 76 foot-pounds. With the wheel safely on the ground, we can torque these lug nuts in a crisscross manner. If you had a hubcap, go ahead and put that on there now. The one area that you want to pay attention to is the carve out for the valve stem. Now let's get back up in the engine compartment. With the full weight of the vehicle on the ground, bottom these out and then torque each of them to 29 foot-pounds. All right, at this point, the process will be the exact same thing for the other side of the car. Time to reinstall the metal aspect of our cowl. Slide that into position, line up all of your mounting bolt holes, start in each of them. Once they're all started, snug them up. Let's get the wiring slid back through into this area. Now, once you're at the point where this rubber grommet comes up to position, have a look at it. You can see that it has a groove that makes its way all the way around. We need to make sure that that groove sits around this area. Press this through. Once it's through, I'll just give it a little tug, and then I'll give it a push to make sure it's completely secure. Let's press that wire down in there. Now we can install our wiper motor assembly. We're going to start by lining up all of our mounting bolts. We'll start them in. Reconnect in the wiper motor. Listen for a click, give it a tug. Now we can start putting on the plastic panel. Let's have a look at this area. You can tell that it has a whole bunch of hooks that make its way along it. That area needs to go around your windshield. Keep in mind, the windshield's made of glass and you don't want to break it. Once you have the driver's side slid into place, continue on doing the same thing to the passenger side. Resecure your hose. Now we can start putting in all of our push clips. Start on one side, make your way all the way over to the other. Once you have the outer aspect in, lock it in with the center. Now it's time for the wiper arms. Before I press this in and put my nut on there, you want to make sure that the wiper blade is sitting in the proper area on your windshield. You don't want it sitting up too high or too low. Once you have it in the proper position, go ahead and press this down as far as you can. Start that mounting nut on there and snug it up. Reinstall your plastic covers, assuming you have them. Do the same to the other wiper arm. Okay friends, I showed you how to install your front strut cap. At this point, you want to safely take it for a road test, listen for any funny noises, and get yourself safely down to your local alignment shop. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.